But generally speaking, if we're obedient to Christ, the outcome could be even better than the situation we're in right now. We have a very, very, very special episode for you because I have my friends with me and they are in the medical world.
3 patients come to me and they're like, Sophia, are you Christian? Yes, you asked me. Yes, I am. And they're like, we knew something was different about you. And I was able to share with them how God changed my life, how He is the reason that I'm joyful. Like,
there is no place where you can lay as many hands on people as a doctor or maybe as a nurse. And I just love praying for people.
He got really mad. I was there. He started throwing things around, spitting around. And the crazy thing is, just that morning, I was reading in Philippians 4 how it says, let your gentleness be evident to all, the Lord is near. And I'm there, and this verse pops to my mind. I'm like, okay.
Oh, didn't you have like a red doorknob or something on the stairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was like always when I touched the door knob, I said, "Hello, Jesus."
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Go and Tell. We have a very, very, very special episode for you because I have my friends with me and they are in the medical world. So as you know, this season we're going to people's homes, to their businesses, and we're just talking to them about how they bring the gospel in their spheres of influence. And we're going to hear about how you can bring the gospel of Jesus in places like the medical field. So you guys, I want you to give a huge round of applause in your house, in your car, wherever you're at, to my dear friends, Silas, Sabrina, and Sophia. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
We're going to have fun. So really quick, before we get started, just tell everyone kind of what you do in the medical world. This is Silas, and Silas, let everyone know kind of what you do so we kind of get a baseline of who you are.
Yeah. So I'm a medical resident in my 4th year right now. I did 1 year in general surgery and now worked for 2 years in a hospital in pediatrics, and now I'm in a private practice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you did surgery, you said?
I did 1 year, yeah. I started off after university.
So you have some crazy stories if you did surgery.
Sure.
And you do surgeries in the ER?
I did some, yeah, and yeah.
Oh man. Okay, when this show's over, we're gonna talk.
Sure.
I like these inside scoop stories. Okay.
I'm Sabrina. I'm a registered nurse. I work at a hospital mostly with drug addicted and homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
But currently I'm a mom.
Currently you're a mom. Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys, so this is one of my favorite things that I had the privilege of officiating the wedding for Silas and Sabrina a few years ago, and now they have a beautiful, beautiful baby girl, a daughter that's just, she's gorgeous. Yeah, when this podcast is over, maybe we're at their house, the baby's asleep, so if we have to get up, if Sabrina has to get up and run in there and grab her little girl, that's okay, because I'm going to wake her up anyway when this podcast is over. Okay. And
We'll see about that.
Yeah. Sorry, Silas. Okay. Sophia.
yeah, so I'm an advanced practice nurse, an APN, and I work with the same organization that Sabrina works with.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, for a year, I was working in the hospital, but more in the outpatient clinic, so less bedside, more outpatient, together with the doctors. And now, since a couple weeks, I'm working in a smaller clinic where I'm alone, and the doctors are there via phone call if I need them. So that's all new, all fresh. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And you two obviously are married and with 3 amazing children as well. And when I first met you, you were like, I never want to have kids.
It was so tough.
Yeah. She's like,
I babysat your kids.
Yes, Sophia babysat our kids, but yeah, way before she had her own. And now you have 3 and they are amazing children. And yeah, and now you love children.
Now I would go for 10, but my husband says no.
Yes. Well, guys, we have a lot of people who watch Go and Tell, and they say, you know, you can't bring Jesus in the medical world. You can't bring Jesus to the hospitals. You can't bring the gospel to as a nurse or as a doctor or as a surgeon, a pediatrician, as a wherever. You know, it's like we all have excuses, right? But these people, a lot of people watch and say, but I can't. And one of the things we want to help them understand is, no, you can. And, you know, maybe there's some ways that you can and some stories that they can hear from you guys who are doing it, which, by the way, you all need to know these guys are awesome. I have known them for years, and they are just in love with Jesus. They talk about Jesus. They share Jesus everywhere. My wife gets texts from Sophia many times, like, "You won't believe what just happened." My wife, and so we don't have people on our show this season who are just like, "Hey, let me give you some theories, some ideas." It's like we're in it, we're doing it, we're in this profession, and we're in the business of sharing the gospel to as many people as possible. So they are tired of hearing me speak. Let's jump right into you guys. Let me ask you this very generic question. Can you bring the gospel of Jesus to the medical world?
I think it's actually really easy because people have you see the needs of people. And the easiest thing is because you have wounds you take care of, and you just ask, hey, can I pray for your wound to close down? And yeah, they're normally never. I had never a patient who said no.
Really?
Yeah. And that, I think, because it's so obvious.
Yeah. You know, I heard someone say one time one of the best times to sow the gospel is after a storm, because to sow the gospel seeds is after a storm. So in real life, practical life, it rains, the soil is moist, and it's the best time to sow seeds. And the same with your worlds that you're in. These people have gone through a major storm, and the soil of their heart is damp and ready for the gospel to be planted. And you're right. What an incredible opportunity. Many people, though, would say, I can't. Like, I can't.
I actually had the experience. I'm reminded of an internship that I did. This was in 2016, 17? No, 18, because I just got married. So it was in 2018. I did an internship in a psychiatry. And I remember during that time, I would wake up in the morning at like 5 o'clock. I would read the Bible. Otherwise, I do not wake up at 5 o'clock. That's way too early. But I felt like I needed it when I'm going into the psychiatry because I'm dealing with a lot of mental illnesses. And I would do this, and then I would primarily focus on the Psalms or the Proverbs. And I was talking to a patient, and she was asking me, Sophia, why are you always so happy? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, you know what? I know God, and God really makes me happy. And what I do, a practical thing, is I read the Bible. Have you read Psalms or Proverbs? And I showed her one of the Psalms of David, where in the beginning, it's like, oh, my life is terrible and everything, but still I trust in the Lord. And I showed this and I shared this with her. And as sometimes is the case, that patients will twist things, and somehow it went to my superior. And my superior then came to me and said, Sophia, if you talk about your faith in the psychiatry, you're not going to pass this internship. And I remember I was there and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to pass this internship if I do this. But God, like, you've placed me here. I want to be a light. Like, I want to be able to share. And I felt like he was telling me, Sophia, keep being yourself. And I kept being myself. And at the end of my internship, it was a 4-month internship, I had about 3 patients come to me and they're like, Sophia, are you Christian? And I said, yes, you asked me. Yes, I am. And they're like, we knew something was different about you. And I was able to share with them how God changed my life, how he is the reason that I'm joyful. Like, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Like, that's it, you know? And I felt God taught me there in that season that there are times when you're not allowed to speak, but our actions speak louder than words, and our consistency in our actions and how we are and how we just talk and the advice we give speaks louder sometimes than if we just come with, hey, you need to read the Bible. So that was then, which was a great foundation. I mean, now I'm having a lot more conversations where I can share the gospel, where this was on Friday, I was able to ask this guy, hey, have you heard of a God who loves you? You know, he wants to be your father. That was really cool, you know?
How did that conversation come about?
Oh, okay. That's, okay. So I started in this new place since a couple of weeks, right? And this was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I only work 2 days a week, so Thursday and Friday. Okay, so first the context. So I'm working in a small praxis. practice,
Mhm.
where it's just me, but right next to me, literally in the same building, there's social workers and there's a social cafe for people who are homeless or have substance use disorders.
Mhm.
And one of the workers comes to me, he's like, Sophia, you really need to come and like look at something. And I'm like, it's an emergency because I was with another patient. He's like, you need to come. I go, okay. So I go, and it's this young guy, 19 years old. Like, and I know he's 19. I thought he is 17, and he's got this big wound on his arm from injecting himself. It's open, and he put a cigarette butt in it. Just a really terrible situation. And this guy was banned from going back inside the cafe because he used drugs inside the restroom, which you're not allowed to do. And so he got really mad. I was there. He started throwing things around, spitting around. And the crazy thing is, just that morning, I was reading in Philippians 4 how it says, let your gentleness be evident to all, the Lord is near. And I'm there, and this verse pops to my mind. I'm like, okay, by the grace of God, really, just the Holy Spirit. They're saying, hey, we're going to call the police. I'm like, give me a chance. De-escalate the situation. I have him in my room, and I start to build up a relationship with him. I saw him again. So that was the first encounter. I brought him then to the hospital, which we work with, which is where you work, because I didn't have the material I needed to take
Mhm.
care of the wound. And as I'm there, he's passed out because he's high. And I remember just being there, and I'm just singing, hey, the Lord bless you and keep you. You know the song?
Mhm.
Just singing this out loud over him. I'm there alone in the room. And then I brought him back to where he could get more drugs because I didn't want him to be isolated there. And yeah, I saw him again 2 weeks later. Again, just a good relationship that we had. And then I saw him again on Friday. And all of a sudden he had this bracelet from the 4
Mhm.
on his arm.
No.
And yeah. And I was like, he had another wound. So I was taking care of his wound, and I was like, where did you get this bracelet from? Do you know what it means? And he's like, oh, one of the guys tried to explain it to me. And so I explained to him what the bracelet is. And there I'm able to say, hey, have you also heard that, God wants to be your father and he loves you unconditionally. Would you like me to tell you more? I often ask the people, would you like to hear more? So it
Mhm.
doesn't seem like I'm just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, do you want to hear more? And he's like, yeah, I actually want to hear more. Unfortunately, I didn't have that much time that I could just the whole time be with him. But I asked, would you be interested if our pastoral care took up contact with you and can talk to you more about this? And he said yes. And I was just like, God, you're so good. Like
Yes.
it's through relationship building that I was able to then have this conversation, and also because of the work that someone else did before,
Mm.
right? He didn't have this 4 on. So whoever gave that to him, it's like I feel like sometimes when we share the gospel, first of all, it's not all on us. Like God is using people, different ways, and we get to be part of sharing it, but it's not on us.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that whoever went out there gave him that bracelet, that opened up the conversation for us then, to go a bit deeper. So, sorry. Yeah.
No, Sophia, this is so cool.
good.
And I
Yeah.
think also one of the things that's worth pointing out here is that you had already hid the word of God in your heart.
Yeah.
So you were reading the Bible. This is a core component in being a good witness for Christ is knowing his word. So you had his word in your heart.
Yeah.
That was the first conversation that opened the door,
Yeah.
was that word. How about de-escalating the situation? Because
Yeah.
had you not had that word in your heart that morning,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to
morning.
de-escalate the situation. That boy could have gone off to, I don't know where. I don't know what y'all do.
Well, they were going to call the police.
Yeah, they're going to call the police and take him off to wherever. So you hid the word in your heart. And secondly, you're a worshiper because you were singing the worship song that, I think it's Carrie Job and
Yeah,
Elevation
exactly.
wrote. So, it's the word, it's worship, it's other people sowing the seed, and together the gospel message is sown.
And it's a lot through relationship, right? So these are outpatient patients that I see, and I see them again and again and again, and they come to me as well. Like, it's a lot to do with relationship, and it's a stepwise thing. I like to think, hey, it's a marathon. It's not just a sprint.
Yeah.
Sometimes God
Yeah.
opens the door and you're able to, wow, just, so
Yeah.
into it. But sometimes it's more, relationship,
Mm-hmm.
like I learned in the psychiatry,
So good. There's a verse in the Bible that Jesus said, when we get to heaven, it says the sower and the reaper are going to rejoice together. And it's a great a reminder. Some people are sowing and some people are reaping the harvest, but together we win the prize together as a team. It's like like a sports team. The World Cup is coming up. The whole team plays on the same field. Everyone does their parts, but together they win the trophy. And that's how it is when it comes to sharing the gospel. So very
I
cool.
think it's cool that you said that about the relationship, because at my place of work, I see the patients like every day, and when I had the conversation, or when they get to know that I'm a Christian, they like every day something drops, and they come and ask, so how do you pray, or do you believe in wonders, or yeah, and so every day I can talk about him and then go like deeper. And it's also sometimes like funny how like kind of a funny mocking, could you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
teasing maybe.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I really like that when it's like, oh yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And I think what you said about relationship is really a key. And just like sometimes it's so much more easy just to share who you are than just an idea of Christ, which they might not know or not feel comfortable with. If just someone meets them on the street and tries to tell them everything in once, they might be overwhelmed with it. But if you have this connections and you can just show who you are as a Christian. And I think what I've experienced is people are really interested in why we are the way we are.
Yeah.
And just when they realize we're a Christian, that we sometimes they just feel the peace around us and they don't know what it is, but they're interested. And I've realized just in my new practice where I work at now, they know that we're about to do a Bible school next year, and so they often come, so tell us more, like what are you doing in that Bible school, like what is it for, or why are you doing something like this? And I often don't have a lot of time to share a whole story or tell every reason, but sometimes I can just share a bit, and then they come back and say, okay, but okay, so what's and so bit by bit you can get to share more and more. And I think for me it was at the beginning, it was really difficult because I often was a bit of unsure of how people would react to me being Christian, especially in the medical field where a lot of people have studied, and the general, I don't know, belief system is quite atheistic or agnostic in some ways. They try to reason a lot and maybe explain things away or try to find a scientific reason behind miracles and everything. And so and often my colleagues, they don't have an experience of the gospel. They don't really know it. They didn't grow up with it. They always heard in their time growing up during university that it's maybe even foolish to believe in a God, I don't know. And then just to see that they're Christians and they're doctors and they live it and it's who they are, it's really a refreshing thought to them. And at first I was like, oh, am I weird to them because I'm a Christian? But then I realized, no, they like me for who I am, and it's okay for me just to be who I am and to share why I am the way I am. And that's really something that can change the way you start talking about why you are the way that you are, and just be free in that as well.
I remember I used to have the similar like feeling of, if I share too much about Jesus, if I share too much about my faith, like they're going to think I'm weird or they're not going to want to hang out with me. And you know how God is, he takes us on a journey. And over the course of time, I was just like, you know what? He really is my joy and I want to share it, right? So I started sharing with a colleague that we both have with the long hair. And he's, yes. This is one of the things that I love with working with you. Another practical thing is find people in your institution that also love Jesus. I think that is so encouraging because I'm able to share with her, I just had this talk with this patient or with this colleague, and hey, let's pray for this specific situation, right?
And sometimes patients come to me and say, hey, Sophia said this and this, and what do you think about that?
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. But for example, this one colleague, he's more kind of like, in the mornings, he's not a morning guy. I'm a morning guy, but like, I don't know. I'm just like, hi, I'm just listening to a worship song and it's so good. And I'm telling him what I experienced with God. And he's like, yeah, you and your faith, you and your Jesus. But it's always again and again, our relationship is growing. And I find that so interesting because he has questions that he then asks. And I think it's cool because I'm also able to say, hey, look, I'm no longer in the hospital, but Sabrina's there, you can go to her. And
So it's not just if people that are watching this are like, I'm in the medical world and I can't talk to these patients and I'm really discouraged. It's not just the patients, right?
No.
Exactly, no. And I think one of the reasons why I went into the medical field was because I really, of course, as you said, like people are at a low point in their life. They're in the hospital, and you would think logically that it's easier to share the gospel with them. And then I was finished with my medical training, my studies. I was first year resident, and I realized, okay, I'm so busy all the time. I have to run from one surgery room to the next. When I worked in the ER, I had maybe multiple patients at the same time. They were already angry because you had them wait for a few hours maybe. And in that stress situations, it's sometimes really hard just to have the time to share Jesus. People, they don't come to you at the hospital to hear about Jesus usually. They want to be treated well, and then they want to go home. And so at the beginning I was quite discouraged because my idea was, okay, I'll go to the hospital because, and that was also what a friend told me before I started studying, that there is no place where you can lay as many hands on people as a doctor or maybe as a nurse. And I just love praying for people. So I
ever just secretly pray for them? When
I did sometimes, yes.
Really?
Actually, even in the OR.
Really?
Because they're asleep, they wouldn't notice.
Come on.
But yeah, at the beginning, friends encouraged me. Like, I wanted to be a pastor for some time. Wasn't sure if I should become a doctor. And then people encouraged me, hey, Jesus is still there, and you'll meet people who you can lay hands on, and it's easier because you'll see so much more people in need than a pastor probably would. And I thought, okay, that's right. Then I was in the hospital and I realized it's actually nothing like I imagined. And I was always running, as I said, from one place to the other. And I was really discouraged after maybe half a year because I realized I didn't see any fruit. I didn't know if I even talked to one person about Jesus. And I maybe tried to put a few words in between my lines, maybe to give more hope in a situation, but I realized I wasn't really able to talk about Jesus. And I realized, okay, the Bible is actually pretty clear about fruit. Fruit only is produced when you're connected to the root. The branch by itself doesn't produce any fruit. And he led me back into deeper seasons of worship where I just said, okay, I don't care about the fruit that I'm trying to produce. I want to get back to the root. And if I'm connected to the root, then fruit will come naturally. And it was funny because just in that time, I started working more and more often with a colleague in the office, and often it would just be the two of us because all the others were in their ORs doing their surgeries, and we were done already and had to do the whole working, the documentations of everything, the reports. And often we just had time and we were starting to chat about life, about what did you do on the weekend? Oh, I was at church on Sunday. And oh, really? Do you go to church? And he was really interested and started asking more and more questions. And I realized, okay, actually, I'm talking more about Jesus to my colleagues than to my patients. And then it started to dawn on me that, my surrounding, my mission field here at the hospital is not just the patients, it's my colleagues just as much. And to continue the story, I was already quite at the end of my residency when this started happening. I was able to share my faith. He was from a Buddhist background, but was really interested in Jesus. I was able to tell him how Jesus is the one who sets the table for us, and whereas in all the other religion, we have to set the table for our gods, we have to sacrifice, but Jesus actually sacrificed himself for us. And he was like, really, wow, I never seen it this way, or wow, he was mind blown. But we didn't get to the point where he actually decided to start following Christ. Now, 2 years later, I hear from a student friend from university who I knew was a Christian in a completely different hospital in a different part of Switzerland. He just texted me, hey, do you know this Michael? I think he worked with you in Zollikerberg in surgery. He's now working in my team, and I just mentioned that I'm in a church, that I'm a Christian. And he's like, "Oh yeah, do you know that guy Silas? He had such a peace. Like
Wow.
I want what he has." And I don't know how the story continues. I'll have to take up contact with him again. But yeah, Jesus is at it, and it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not
Come on,
about
Silas.
who does that part of the story. As you shared with your friend, you had this other guy who gave him this bracelet. Jesus is doing the work, and he's producing the fruit. It's not us who try to work harder to produce some fruit. It's him, and he loves his children so much, and he won't let them slip out. So yeah, he's taking care of them.
And I think that's like one thing as well, right? We don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we get to, right?
Exactly.
And I think something that God's also shown me is, hey, if I'm giving you the opportunity to mention my name or to mention that you're a Christian, then just do it. And how many people ask you, oh, so what are you doing this weekend? I think that's one of the easiest ways to tell people I love Jesus
There
is,
you
oh,
go.
I'm going to church, right? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, Sunday I'm going to church. The rest of the time, I often don't know what I'm doing. But I know on Sunday I'm going to church. And it's a cool outing, so to speak.
I think that's a really cool statement you said, just do it. Because often I overthink when I often have conversations where I thought, oh, I could say this and this about Jesus, and I got really nervous and I overthought it or was overthinking, and then I didn't say anything. And now I'm like, just don't overthink it. Just say it.
Yeah.
Just offer the prayer. Just
go for it.
Just say, hey, I believe in miracles.
Yeah, just be simple, right?
Yeah.
Like God's the artist who paints the picture on the hearts of the people of who he is, but we just make it simple and we try to complicate it. We really, I mean, I do this all the time. Like the moment I start to rationalize like what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it, what are they going to think, it's over. Like I'm flooded with excuses and I'm like, okay, let's just keep walking, right?
Yeah.
But if you just start, it's amazing what will happen. Yeah.
Or I notice I don't speak clearly, like, or coherently. If I'm thinking too much in my head, I start skipping parts and I'm like, oh wait, what was I supposed to say?
Man, you guys are doing such an amazing job. We talk often, like we said earlier, and just the stories and what God is doing with you guys is so cool. So if people are watching this and they're like, my life is super, super busy. I have so many things planned. How can people stay focused on their relationship with Christ, even when they have these intense schedules like you guys have in the medical world? Like, what's some things that you guys put in place to say, okay, I want to keep my passion for Jesus burning so that I can share out of the overflow, right? Does that make sense?
I started, it's funny because I really wanted to be, to have God in my workplace. But it was so much going on. I was really into the topic and into the medical stuff and organizing. And then I asked God, how can I have like focus points on him during work? And then the idea came to, when I go to the bathroom, I talk with him, and I mostly talk in tongues, or I pray, or I sing, and it's that small short moment where I'm just refocusing on him and saying, hey God, here I am on
really
the toilet and just focusing back on him, and that helps me a lot to be focused on him during like work at the laptop or with a patient, or it's just that break of medical stuff in your head on God.
I was going to say, so if the Bible was written today and it's the Sabrina version, it would be, instead of going to your prayer closet, it'd be going to the toilet and spend a few times in the toilet, and the Father receives your prayers in secret.
Drink lots of water.
Oh, didn't you have like a red doorknob or something on the stairs?
Yeah.
Like,
it was like always when I touched the door knob, I said, hello, Jesus. And then I went in, or...
No, but it's so cool how I love this, because in the workplace, whether you're in the medical field or whatever field you're in, you can find prayer closets, right? And instead of going to the bathroom and scrolling Instagram, unless you're watching the Go and Tell podcast. No, I'm kidding. But when you're there, use these moments, find places in the workplace that you can get alone with Jesus in the middle of all the chaos. You have a little retreat place that you go to get recharged, to get refocused, and then go back on it. I think that's cool. That's awesome.
I have it in the morning. So like you mentioned, I have 3 small kids.
Uh-huh.
So often I don't get time to read the Bible at home unless I really wake up super early. But then for some reason, my kids wake up super early. I think they have like a sense that I'm not in bed. So
Like the
I'm
devil
gonna go.
pinches them, like, hey,
Yeah.
guess what? She's awake.
But so for me, it's like a non-negotiable. On my train ride to the hospital or to the practice I work, I have a little travel Bible with me. It's like pretty small. It's super cute. And I read my Bible. I just
Nice.
read it, and that's like a non-negotiable, even to the point where a colleague of ours, the person responsible for the pharmacy, she sometimes takes the same train with me, and she's like, "Oh, I know, now you're gonna read your Bible." She wants nothing to do with God. Her boyfriend even was like, "Don't you dare become Christian." But I'm like, yeah, now I read my Bible because I need this. If I don't recharge, and there have been days when I didn't, because for some reason I might have been like, "Oh, I'm gonna talk to my colleague instead." I noticed that the day for me just isn't as fun. I don't know. That's
No,
one thing.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
having a small travel Bible, and for a while I was like reading it on my phone because I was like, oh, it's super easy. You always have your phone on you. And then I met a lady in the train. Her name was Gabriella. I have no idea any else. I know her name's Gabrielle, and she was reading this like big Bible. And I was like, oh, you're reading the Bible. I'm reading the Bible too, but I'm reading on my phone. So of course I start talking to her and I ask her in a crowded train. It's like early in the morning, so everyone's going to work, and I'm like, what's your story? What did you read? Why do you love Jesus? How did you come to Jesus? And we're just sharing our
Talking
testimonies.
really loud so
Of
everybody
course,
hears.
talking loud so people can hear. And I felt God was telling me, hey, Sophia, when you're on your way, don't just look at your phone, because that doesn't set you apart, right? So I started now taking this travel Bible, which I had as like a kid, which I completely forgot about, and started reading this in the train. And it actually also gave me opportunities to talk with a couple people in my sector, because they're like, are you reading the Bible? So that's like one thing that really starts my day as well when I'm going to work. And what I also have with me, I have like these little really beautiful cards, like posted thick, beautiful cards with a message on the front, like, you are valuable, you are loved. And on the back is the gospel explained super easily.
Cars.
Cards.
Ah,
I can
cards.
show you. I can show you next time. They're super nice. And there's like a QR code you could scan to hear more. And I have those with me too for certain people when I feel like, hey, I need to give her something. I always ask, do you want this? There's a Christian text on the back, so I'm transparent about it. In the past, I probably would have just been like, here, just take it. Okay, I did my job.
Yeah.
But now I want to be transparent as well. And yeah, so I read my Bible on the way. And when I'm at work, there was a phase during my work where I was creating my own position. So I had to write a lot of documents for the government as well. And I remember just sitting there being like, God, I don't feel equipped to do this. Oh, but good thing I don't have to be. You've sent me here. If it doesn't go through, if I lose my job, if it's not good enough, I know you'll provide. And it takes so much pressure off. And I can just be like, hey, give me the right words to write and show me favor. And for some reason, really, it's not me, it's always turned out good. And I feel like that's one thing that I've really learned, is not to hold on to our job, be like, I need to keep this job, but to really trust, hey, God has given me this job and he will provide, and to just kind of let go. And it takes so much pressure out from us feeling like we have to or we can't, but just, hey.
I mean, that's a great point. And so we're talking to a lot of people who are in the business world, and they say, I don't want to lose my job. Just exactly what you're saying. And I think sometimes if we back up and look at it, like, okay, Jesus, I'm going to talk about you, and I'm going to lose my job, and is Jesus going to be like, that was stupid of you, man. I'm not going to give you another job. How dumb are you? You're like, no, I mean, couldn't God come along and say, I'm so proud of you, man. Like, I'm going to give you favor and a better job. And of course we know, like we know you don't like give money to get money from God, or I'm not going to do this so I get a better job. But generally speaking, if we're obedient to Christ, the outcome could be even better than the situation we're in right now, right? Like, and be wise about it, right? Like, no, I'm preaching the gospel everywhere because I need the best job on the planet. Like, don't be stupid. But yeah, when God prompts your heart, be faithful with it and trust Him with the results and trust Him with your life and let Him navigate, because He is the one that gave you that job.
Yeah. I remember, sorry, I feel like I'm
No,
talking.
keep going, you guys.
Yeah, you're good.
I remember there's also a time when I was working where it was similar to what you were saying. Like I expected to share more. You know, I was like, I want to be sharing more, but I wasn't getting the opportunities to. And like you say, you be wise. You know, if you don't feel prompted, don't just start from your own initiative. And I just felt like, God, you know, there was like maybe 3 months and I was like, oh. And then I started feeling like, oh, maybe this isn't the place for me. And I started feeling, oh, I think maybe I should go somewhere else. And I started having all these feelings. And I felt God was taking me during a time there where He was saying, hey, Sophia. Oh, yeah. And those feelings then obviously don't just stay at the job. They start to attack your identity. I felt like a terrible mom. I felt like a terrible wife. I just felt like a failure. And God was, a terrible dog mom too, because my dog ran away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible,
Terrible human being. Why am I even alive? What can I bring?
Yeah. And I felt God was then saying, hey, Sophia, don't trust on your feelings. Don't even trust your reality, right? But trust the truth. And I was like, okay, what's the truth, right? And then what is the truth? I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? So it's actually saying, hey, trust Jesus. And I think it comes down to trusting and not relying on our feelings or our realities even, but to trust Jesus. And if we trust Him fully, we're able to say, hey, you gave me this job, you know? You placed me here. And if this is it, then great. If this is not what you have in store, I trust you.
Yeah.
Have you guys had an experience like that where you're like, hey, I really need to trust that He's got it?
I mean, in the hospital, you're often surrounded by situations where people, as we said, are at their worst or at a very low point in life. You're surrounded by quite dramatic situations sometimes in the emergency room, where it can, even for us as healthcare providers, it can be tough. And just to know that we have a hope, and just sometimes you're so inside of just functioning, trying to get everything done that you need to have fixed or whatever, just to take a step back. And sometimes it has to be like, I'm taking my 5-minute break on the toilet even though everything is kind of burning. Just to come back to Jesus and just realize I'm not trying to do this out of my own strength. I actually have a God, and He's actually so much bigger than any problem in here. And just those 2 seconds of I'm taking a step back, I am looking towards God. Is my problem bigger than God, or is God bigger than my problem? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm going back in. I have hope. I have power. And that just does so much. And people start realizing, okay, you were just down a few seconds ago because you had to run from one end to the other and treat patients, and maybe because it does affect us too to hear those stories and what happened to the patients. And then seeing you, okay, you have a new power, and that doesn't leave your colleagues, it does leave your colleagues wondering what happened, but it's not even about the colleagues. It's just like for us also, it's important to come back to the source of our hope, to come back to the source of our strength, and to just not burn out.
Yeah, just that short amount of time in prayer is powerful. And sometimes we think we have to just have like a whole day set aside for prayer and meditation and listening to worship music and laying before the Lord. And when the disciples said, teach us how to pray, Jesus gives them just a few sentences and says, here's how you can pray. And you would think Jesus would give them like, okay, here's a book and go through all these bullet points because I'm the creator of the universe. But He says, here's a few sentences that there's an outline that when you talk to me, this is what you need. And just that short recharge in the toilet and that short recharge somewhere at your company, like you're saying, it goes a long ways to get you back focused and recalibrated on what really matters, and allows you to hear Holy Spirit just because He whispers to you, right? Like it's really quiet, He whispers. And all the noise and all the things is chaotic.
For sure.
You guys are amazing. Man, we could go on and on and on and on and on. We need to have you guys on again because you guys are awesome. And I've been in the hospital many times. I've had many surgeries, unfortunately. And I wish every doctor and nurse I had was in love with Jesus like you guys, because there's such peace knowing that not only are you cutting on my body or you're looking at my body, but you're also like following Jesus and Jesus lives inside of you. And so you guys, I just want to say thank you for coming here today. And you have been such a delight to be with. Do you want to say anything before we go? Anything on your heart?
Just be yourself, like in Jesus. Don't try to be something you're not, but also don't try to hide who you are as a Christian, because people will be more interested than you might believe. Yeah.
Grow where you're planted. Bloom where you're planted.
Well, talk to Jesus on the toilet.
Awesome. That's great. You guys, it's been so fun. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next episode.